Hello there, it's been a while since I put out a video, so here is a recent cut from a stream where we were tier list rating how good the Pathfinder 2e adventures would be as films. Please enjoy, and I apologise for my very slow, very pathetic release schedule. I'll try and get something out for you soon. So, today we are going to be doing some tier lists. The intention here really is because I'm very lazy and I haven't been able to put out a video in a while, and I figured it'd be fun to do some tier lists for Pathfinder, and then I can harvest the parts for some quick and easy content for the YouTube channel whilst I put together the campaign diaries. But yeah, we're going to do a tier list today. The first one we're going to be doing is how good adventure paths would be as films. We have a fair few Pathfinder 2e adventures at this point, some of which I feel like would make pretty good films, some of which probably wouldn't. So we've got a few tiers here. We have a franchise-worthy adventure path. These ones will be the ones that you'd probably need to make multiple films out of to do them justice, but they would make like a great focus for those films. We have a great film, something that would make a good film standalone, doesn't need to be expanded upon in multiple iterations. Something that would be better as a TV show. We have something that just wouldn't be good, something that would be objectively bad, and then there's a category for the ones that I just don't know well enough to make a judgment call. So that is what we're going to be doing. So I think let's just make a start. Obviously, the first one is Agents of Edgewatch. This is one in which you play as police, essentially, town guards in Absalom, big city. The adventure path has a lot of controversial themes because you are playing cops, which means it would be a cop film. The cops are intended to be the good guys, which a lot of society doesn't particularly view them as these days. And you also can do some pretty messed up things in the film, such as freely confiscate items from people, which feels like a bit of an overstep, a bit of an overreach. But in terms of the plot, the main antagonist is like a group of 4 criminals, but throughout the adventure path, you're dealing with serial killers, you're dealing with gangs, various different types of criminal agents. I don't know. The plot feels a little long, maybe, to be a film. You have these 4 bad guys. Potentially that could be squeezed into a film. I'm juggling between great film and better as a TV show. Typically, cop stuff works better as a TV show than a film. It needs that longevity. It needs those episodes where it's a bit of a lull, where you're doing the investigative stuff, you're talking to lots of people. So potentially it would be better as a TV show. However, if you really condensed it, cut out some of the extra fluff and made it a group of cops going after a criminal organization. There's 4 members from what I know, and they deal with them periodically. It could make it could make a good film, but you'd have to brush past a lot of it. You'd lose a lot of the depth with those 4 villains. So I think this is one where a TV show would work a lot better than a single film. Definitely not franchise worthy. I don't think we would need 4 films to deal with the 4 villains, because there's not enough going on outside of those villains. And they're also not involved enough to require the entire film is them solving this awkward predicament they've been put in. So I'm going to go with Agents of Edgewatch is better as a TV show than a film. Next, we have Bloodlords. Bloodlords is obviously the evil campaign. Your characters are trying to become Bloodlords. This one is interesting. It's interesting. in theory, there is a lot of content there. So it's a 1 to 20 campaign, so there's a lot going on. If you tore out most of that to squeeze it into a film, I don't think you're losing that much. There's various bloodlords that the party deals with so that they can become them. There's the negotiations with the ruler of Geb. I think this would actually make a good film. I think this one can sit in just a good individual film. I don't think it needs to be a TV show, although it wouldn't be bad as a TV show. It's just, I don't think it would only work as a TV show. I think you could make a good film out of Bloodlords. Yeah. I also don't think it's franchise worthy because there is like a big bad. You don't meet him till the very end. That is like a common complaint with the adventure path, that the big bad only sort of pops up later on. So I don't think it needs to be a franchise. There's actually, I wouldn't say there's enough core stepping stones in the adventure to become like, you know, book 1 is a film, book 2 is a film. I don't think it's going to work great like that. I think you could cut a lot of content, focus on the political progress to become Bloodlords, and just make a good film out of that. So, Bloodlords, great film. Extinction Curse. So, you start as a carny, kind of irrelevant once the actual adventure gets going. I think, honestly, this would just be a good film. I think Bloodlords would be better. It's a big world-ending event type adventure. I don't think it would be bad. It's got enough of a plot that you could make it into a film. I don't know it well enough to think maybe it would be a better TV show. That there could be a lot of like quite concise chapters that could work better as a TV show. But typically, large group, simple beginnings, get swept up in big world-ending event. That feels like it just make a good film. Very Honor Among Thieves-ish, but on a bigger scale, I guess. I think that one's fine as just being a film. Hellfire Crisis, not even read it, know nothing about it. We're just going to put that in don't know well enough. It's the new one. I'm sure it would actually make a really good film, just based off the marketing they've done for it. Two Kingdoms at War, I believe, is the intent there. But I don't know it well enough to make a real choice there. Kingmaker, that's our franchise, that is. Huge adventure path. So much to do in it. With the kingdom building side of it, you could absolutely run multiple films through this with the various different arcs. Start to the humble beginnings as one film. Once you've got your own kingdom, the political side of it is another film. I definitely think Kingmaker could be a franchise-worthy film that could have multiple iterations. Be a trilogy, why not? Yeah, that's a bit of an easy franchise one. Mythspeaker, I don't know well enough. It's another one of the new ones. I haven't read really much about it at all. That one's kind of slipped under the radar. I feel like the Hellfire Crisis is something they've been talking about for a while. Kingmaker, it uses the mythic rules. Could be very interesting. You could do like a... what's it called? Wrath of Titans style film with it. It could be quite interesting. But I actually don't know anything about the plot at all, so I don't want to speak on it. Outlaws of Alkenstar, that feels like you could do it as a good film, a good Western film. I would prefer it to be a TV show. I think it would... Western TV shows, I think, have a certain... I feel like Outlaws of Alkenstar is a character piece with a good bit of action in it. I think if you try to squeeze it all into one film, you would be cutting too much of that important NPC importance, basically. I think the characters in it are really interesting, really important to making sure that the plot feels good. So I don't think it would work as a film as well as it would as a TV show, but I don't think it's worth a franchise. I don't think you could do like one film is book 1 and 2, and then second film is book 3. Maybe you could. But I think just making it a TV show, maybe like a couple of seasons, so you can squeeze out all of that great character action. And the setting is interesting enough that I think it needs time to be introduced. So I think Outlaws of Arkansas, better as a TV show. Revenge of the Rune Lords, I'm actually going to say no to this. Not because I think it's got a bad plot or anything. I think it requires knowledge of all the Rune Lord stuff, and I don't think a film could squeeze in all of the Rune Lord lore in a way that would be satisfying. Even as a TV show, you would need to start it all the way back at Rise of the Rune Lords, and in which case we're not talking about this adventure path. I think it's probably a very good adventure path, but I don't think it's the right starting point for a film or a TV show. Shades of Blood, that is going to be... It's going to be a nah as well. Just because I don't feel like dungeon crawls are going to make for a good film. This one has a bit more of a plot. It's got the whole vampires trying to blot out the sun thing. So it does have a bit more plot than something like Abomination Vaults. But in dungeon crawls, what you're doing throughout most of that adventure is killing things and killing people. And typically, films aren't great if you just murder every character that comes along. So I'm going to say that is a no for Shades of Blood. Sky King's Tomb. So you've got the first book, which is in the Dwarven City, and then you've got a bunch of time underground. I guess your way of looking at that would be, would The Hobbit work as well if... I suppose I'm still not a fan of the fact they split into 3 films, but if they had split into 3 films, would The Hobbit work if the first film had been all the way to Erebor, and then the second and third film had been them exploring Erebor? Which is a maybe. Potentially it would have worked. But I don't feel like they can stretch the content far enough. Like, the confined dungeon crawly side of Sky King's Tomb isn't the thing you want to stretch over most of the film. So I'm going to say, would it be terrible or would it just be a nah? I think structure-wise it would be actively bad to turn that one into a film. Because I think structurally films just don't work when they're going to be just walking around caves, fighting monsters, exploring. It could be cool. Not going to make a great film though. Strength of Thousands. It's got a lot of plot, very NPC heavy, so a lot of character work. I'm going to order these actually while I'm thinking about it. I'm going to say this would be a really good TV show. TV show about a magic school. It's the entire lives of these characters, so you got multiple seasons in theory. Season 1, when they first arrive, they're pupils, they're doing the exams, whatever. By the end of the show, they're professors going out into the region and helping locally. I think would make a great TV show. It'd be okay as a film, but it'd be way better as a long-term, multiple-season TV show. Fist of the Ruby Phoenix. I would say that would make a good film. Not better than these two, but a good film. Because you could just make it a really cool, very classic kung fu movie, basically. It's a fighting tournament. It's got some plot. It's got like the kaiju attack at the end. So I think this would make a very good one-off film, just like a crazy fantasy kung fu romp film. Definitely wouldn't be better as a TV show. There's not enough depth there for that. Couldn't really make it a franchise because you don't want 3 or 4 films that are just a fighting tournament. So I'd say you could make that a film. You could make it a very fun film, but it wouldn't be like an Oscar-winning film. It'd just be like a fun one-off thing. Triumph of the Tusk. I think this would make a good film. I feel like, yeah, lowest one here, though, on the film so far. It's got a lot of political stuff. The plot is interesting enough that it would fill out a film. I don't think it's franchise worthy. It would be okay as a TV show too if you could drag out some of that character depth. But I think just making a film like a sort of not political. I guess it's a little political, but maybe I don't want it. Maybe it wouldn't make a good film. I'll leave it at the lowest of the make a good film categories. Though I'm happy to hear arguments for why that should or shouldn't be a good film from people who have maybe played it and know a bit more about it than me. The Wardens of Wildwood. Ooh. Do we want a film about eco-terrorists that are kind of on the... Right, see, this is a weird one, right? So you're supposed to build characters that are part of the Wildwoods, that are part of nature's side of things, against these like overreaching loggers and lumber companies, but then you end up sort of siding with the lumber companies and fighting off the revolution. That feels a bit weird, and that would feel a bit messy as a film plot. So I think it'd be one of those films where you watch it and you're like, isn't that like the wrong message? It would have enough plot and enough intrigue and enough excitement to make a good film, but in terms of like, you know how films need to have like a message, a story, they need to teach things to be like a good, like beautiful piece of art. And I think the message of this as a film or as a TV show would feel wrong. It kind of be that feeling when you watch like Grease and you realize the moral of the story of Grease is change yourself to get the man. Not really a good thing to be teaching people. And we don't really want to encourage that kind of messy, mixed morals kind of thing. So I'm going to say nah. I think it could be a good film. I just think the political, moral side of it is not where we want it to be. So we'll put it at the top of nah. Closest to being good, but not quite. Spore War. Absolutely a good film. I would put that just under Bloodlords. War film. Like if you made this a really good gritty, like World War II film styling of cinematography, of storytelling, but made it elves versus this imposing demonic force, then I think you could make a really cool film out of Spore War. You got a clear villain, you got a clear resistance and characters. I think that would make a great film. Not franchise worthy because I don't think you could pull it through that many films, but definitely a really good, strong film. Seven Dooms for Sandpoint, I definitely think would be maybe... Oh, I might put it... I think it's better as a TV show. I think I'm going to put it just underneath Outlaws of Alkenstar. Because this one, 7 dooms, the 7 major threats to this town. You don't want one per film, so you don't want to make it a franchise. But you could potentially do 1 or 2 or 3 per season of a TV show. A lot of it takes place in a dungeon, so I little hypocritical that this one I think would make a good TV show. But a lot of the dooms take place in the actual town, and you could easily rug sweep a lot of the dungeon crawling stuff and have these threats come to the town and be solved in the town instead. Yeah, I think it would make a really good TV show. I don't think it would make a good film. There's too many characters for a film. Too many enemies to deal with over the course of like a 2-hour film. So TV show so that it can spread it out, but not a franchise because I don't think you're trying to drag out over a film. So yeah, better as a TV show. I think it'd actually be a really good TV show. Season of Ghosts. Definitely a good film. Is it franchise worthy? Is it franchise worthy? Maybe. Maybe. I don't know where the split would be though. That's the issue. That's my debate here is where would you cut Season of Ghosts in half to make your 2 films? Obviously it has the like really cool plot twist, which I don't want to spoil. But I think it's almost too early on to be like the cut between the 2 films. Like you don't want to. It wouldn't work as like an Infinity Wars where like, oh no, the thing happens and then cut there. I think I'm going to put it at the top of great film. I think there's potential for franchise there, but it depends where you cut it. I bet there's a good spot for it. I can't think where it would be. But definitely make a really good film. Quest for the Frozen Flame. I think it's a character piece. I think we go here. If we made this like a Vikings TV show, a couple of seasons, character driven, they spend so much time collecting allies ready for this final big fight. It could work as a film, but I think you'd spend almost too long needing to spend time on this collecting of allies, and then it wouldn't leave enough juice for the final scenario. I know in the actual game, it's kind of like you just leave them behind and it's whatever. But in a film, that wouldn't happen, right? You wouldn't collect all these allies and then the main character goes off to do a thing and you never cut back. There would be scenes of cutting back to that bigger fight. So you'd want more time, I think. But it's also not enough to do a franchise out of, because I don't think there's enough finales in it. If you did like 2 films, kind of a similar issue to a Season of Ghosts, I don't know where you'd cut it. You don't want an entire film of collecting allies and then stop the film there. That wouldn't be satisfying. So I think better as a TV show. 1 or 2 seasons, probably 1 season to be honest. You spend the season collecting allies. The last 2 episodes are this big final battle. Gatewalkers. Controversial. It's not the most beloved one. It has been remastered. I've not read the remaster. Maybe it fixes a few of these things. Would it in theory work as a franchise? I feel like it has a chance. Going through all these different gates and things, you're collecting various little things. Hesitant to say franchise worthy. Not because the plot is anything like exceptional, but I think there are actually really nice stopping points for multiple films throughout it. This is going to be my controversial hot take. Franchise-worthy Gatewalkers. I think it might be. I think we're going to go franchise-worthy Gatewalkers. It's not going to be the best franchise in the world. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this would be like, hell yeah, my second favorite adventure path plot is. It's not. But I think with how films are today, you could stretch that into multiple films and it would work. Curtain Call would be terrible. Because it's the sequel, right? It's a sequel to another adventure. You can't start with Curtain Call. You can't. I mean, you could kind of maybe do the flashbacks thing, where it's a hot start, they're putting on a show, and then you slowly see what happened as they produce the show. And then a god died. It's too much lore that you need to tell people. People need to know the full adventure of what the people did beforehand, unless you want to show it all in flashbacks. But then you're also going to get a literal god dying halfway through this film, which the audience won't know about, they won't care about, there's no attachment. I think it would be objectively bad to start a film at curtain call however you want. If you wanted to make Curtain Call a sequel, maybe it would be a bit weird to watch a film. Like, say you went and watched The Lord of the Rings, and then the Fellowship, if instead of the Two Towers, you got the Fellowship putting on a play about what happened in it's weird. Wouldn't work. Abomination Vaults. I have a very fond spot for this adventure path because obviously I got my campaign diaries about it, and I think I've done a lot of work to make it good. I still don't think it'd be a good film. Would it be better than Sky King? No. Better than Curtain Call, though. Abomination Vaults is all murder romp if you look at it objectively. It's a dungeon crawl. There are some cool NPCs. You've got Erevian, you've got Belcora, you've got all these cool, different, interesting NPCs. They're there to be killed at the end of the day. They have some interesting plot points, but they're there to be killed, and that just wouldn't make a good film. I also don't think it'd be fun to watch a group of adventurers just slap their way through an underground maze for so long. I think without heavy adjustments to the plot and the pacing, it just wouldn't work. Then we've got Age of Ashes. Age of Ashes is probably the most like cliche fantasy romp that they have in Pathfinder. You go to a lot of places. I'm trying to think of a comparison film. What would it be like to watch that? I guess it'd be a bit Lord of the Ringsy. Visiting so many locations with all these different plot points going on. There's different threats in each location. Would it be franchise worthy? What are the stopping points? Where would you pause to move on to the second film? Would it be good as one film? Yeah, I think it would. If you look at it from an Honor Among Thieves perspective, they travel over a lot of places in that, but they just get through it. They skip the travel time. They get to the plot point. They're there for a reason. They fight the enemy of that place. They move on. I think it could work like that. Better than Bloodlords? No. Not better than Spore War. Yes, better than Extinction Curse. I would put it, yeah, mid being a good film on its own. Is this our tier list? Are we happy? Am I happy? Don't know these well enough. That remains. I feel like this would be a good film, but I don't know enough to speak on it. Curtain Call would be bad. Abomination Vaults would require heavy changes. Sky King's Tomb, the pacing is the wrong way around. It would need to be 2/3 city stuff and then 1/3 dungeon crawly stuff. Shades of Blood, it'd be fine, but it just wouldn't be good. Revenge of the Rune Lords requires just too much. But do I bring this down? I'm going to bring this down. Revenge of the Rune Lords requires way too much backstory. Same reason as Curtain Call wouldn't work. Too much backstory to be good. Then we've got, well, yeah, Wardens of Wildwood. Potentially a good film. I just think the plot is a little backwards as what people would expect and want. It wouldn't be satisfying. You'd watch it and be like, yeah, crush those people fighting for their home. It'd be a very conservative film. Agents of Edgewatch, probably a good film. Same as Wardens of Wildwood, be a bit morally weird. So, sorry, that's TV shows, yeah. Better as a TV show. All these better as a TV show. Strands of Thousands and Outlaws, I think, would be actively very good TV shows. Yeah, these would all be great films. I think these three on the end would be like really good films. Spore War, if you filmed it in a specific kind of way. Bloodlords and Season of the Ghost would make great films. And then Gatewalkers would be better as a franchise than a single film. Wouldn't necessarily be the best. And Kingmaker has so much going on that while it would be great as a film, it'd be really, really good as multiple films. Yeah, this is our tier list for how good these adventure paths would be as films. Let me know what you think about these bottom two. These bottom two here, I have hunches about. I think they would both work as films. I just don't know enough about them to make that call. Let me know where you would place them, and let me know if you would change any of these around. Maybe if you have played, say, Curtain Call, and you think it would work as a film, let me know why. Or let me know if I'm just objectively wrong about any of these. Thanks for watching. That was our tier list for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. I did enjoy doing this tier list. If you have any ideas for other things that I could tier list, I would be very much down to do that. So please leave a comment saying what you would like to see a TTRPG related tier list of. Thank you very much.